Hey everyone, Phil here. Welcome back to Playground Sessions YouTube channel. Today I've got a brand new video for you in our Popular Music Deconstructed series. We're going to be looking at another one of music's most common progressions, specifically the minor 4 to major 1 progression. Right off the bat, you might be asking yourself, in a major key where 1 is major, 4 should also be major. So what is this minor 4 chord doing here? What does that mean, minor 4? Well, I'll get into this in a lot more detail in just a few minutes here when we kick into this lesson. But for now, I'll tell you that this is one of my favorite things about this progression. It introduces the concept of borrowed harmony, borrowing a chord from another mode or a key. And that's where we see this minor 4. Again, I'll get into this in more detail to come, but for now, let me just tell you that this minor 4 to major 1 progression can be seen throughout music of most all styles, genres, and artists that you didn't necessarily think had anything in common. That's one thing that we like to explore here in the Popular Music Deconstructed series. We're going to be looking at how various artists use the minor 4 to major 1 progression, including, but not limited to, Radiohead, Bruno Mars, Joe Cocker, Simon and Garfunkel, and even Disney's Moana. These guys all are using this progression, and so I'm excited to be showing you guys how to do it and the magic behind it. So let's dig in. Before we dive into this progression, let's do a super quick review of the chords that make up a major key, and we'll take G major as our example. The key of G and the G major scale and the key signature all tell us that we have one sharp, and that is F sharp. Every F is sharp. So that means we have G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G as our scale. So the first scale degree is G, 2 is A, 3 is B, 4 is C, 5 is D, 6 is E, 7 is F sharp, and we're back to 1, or 8, that's another G. And if we build root position triads on top of these scale degrees, we have the chords of our major key. Here, our G major triad with the first scale degree on the bottom is our 1 chord, G major. Our 2 chord is A minor. 3 chord is B minor. The 4 chord is C major. Not minor, right? However, this video is all about the minor 4. However, in a major key, the 4 chord by default is major, so we're going to get into in a little more detail in just a minute how we can make this a minor chord. But for now, let's keep moving. 5 is D major, 6 is E minor, 7 is that outlier, 7 is a diminished chord, F sharp diminished, and then we're back to our 1 chord an octave higher, G major. So, that is the formula to figure out the quality of chords in a major key. 1, 4, and 5 are, by default, major. 2, 3, and 6 are minor, and then the 7 chord is diminished. However, it is possible, and often a good idea, to borrow chords from other modes or other keys to spice up a progression. We looked at the key of G major and the major and minor chords that make up that key. But if we look instead at the key of G minor and the chords that make up that key, we're going to find that we have a minor 4 chord, which is C minor. And if we wanted to be a bit dramatic and add some sadness to a major progression, if we're in the key of G major, we can borrow that minor 4 chord from the G minor mode, even though we're technically in the key of G major, and that's going to add a little bit of drama to our progression when we resolve to G major. So we can play in the key of G major, the 1 chord, the 2 chord, the 3 chord, and then play a minor 4 by flatting that E. And when we resolve from this minor 4 chord to the major 1 chord, it sounds very satisfying and uplifting, doesn't it? Now let's examine why that might be. When we have a major 4 chord to a major 1, there are a couple of different voices happening in the middle of these chords. First, we can take our top voice, G, to G. That doesn't move at all, right? So that note stays the same. Let's look at our middle voice, E natural to a D natural. That is a whole step resolution from E to D. And if we look at the bottom voice, C to B, that is a half step resolution. Now, a half step resolution is the strongest kind of resolution that we can see in music, in Western music on the keyboard at least. And that's because the note is traveling the least amount of distance. So when we have our major 4 chord, we have 2 different resolutions happening when we go from major 4 to major 1. We have a half step resolution down here, and we have a whole step resolution here. So now let's take a look at the resolutions within the minor 4 chord to the major 1 chord. On the bottom, we still see that half note resolution, but guess what? In the middle voice, we also now have a half step resolution from E flat to D. So both of our resolutions are half step resolutions, which means they're the strongest kind of resolution. And what that means is that it's going to sound the most satisfying when we finally resolve. Pretty cool, huh? Let's review a little bit of what we just covered before we go into looking at some song examples. We know that in a major key, the 1 chord is major, the 2 is minor, the 3 is minor, and the 4 chord is major, and so on. However, in the minor key, 1 is minor, and 4 is also minor. So, when we're in the key of G major, we can borrow chords from the key of G minor interchangeably to spice up our progressions. We can add some drama and some sadness to our otherwise happy progressions by borrowing from the minor mode. And one of the most classic ways to do that is by making the 4 chord, which again is typically major, making it minor, or borrowing from the minor mode. When we do that, we have 2 inner voicing resolutions that both become half-step resolutions, which make it sound more satisfying. So what I'd like to do now is take a look at some examples by some artists that you may not have thought have much in common, and they all put this progression to use, the minor 4 to the major 1. Let's take a look first at Creep by Radiohead. If we look at the notation up on screen, we see that we have a couple of triads in the left hand. We have a 4 chord progression. We have our 1 chord to start, which is G major. We're going to do that in second inversion. In the third measure of this section, we see our second chord. That's B over D sharp. Now this one also is borrowed from another mode, but we're not going to talk about this one in today's video. We're going to keep moving. We're going to go to the major 4 chord. And then we shift from our major 4 chord, which here is C over E, to the minor 4 chord by flatting the third. Now we have our minor 4 chord. And if we repeat this progression, we're going to land back here on G major. And we can see that the resolutions of both of these voices, E flat and C, when we move to the 1 chord, are both down by half steps. Right? So we have our minor 4 chord, C minor, to our major 1 chord, G major. Let's play through this. This is the intro to our intermediate level arrangement of this song, and it goes a little something like this. 1, 2, set, go. Major 4, and minor 4. Back to major 1. Okay, so there's Radiohead, and that's how they use the minor 4 to major 1. Notice they start on the major 4, and then move to the minor 4, before resolving back to the major 1. Stretches that out a bit more and makes it even more dramatic. All right, let's shift gears now. We're going to shift styles and shift eras here. We're going to look at Joe Cocker, and we're going to look at his song, You Are So Beautiful. Ready? In the notation above, we can see we're still in the key of G major, so this is great news. And let's just start with our left-hand part first before looking at the melody. Again here, we start with a second inversion, 1 chord, G major over D. Next, we have a G7 over D. Then we go to our major 4 chord, and here we're going to see it as a major 7 chord. We're omitting the 5th, so we have the 1, the 3, and the major 7. And we do another one of those, and then we flat this 3rd to make it a minor 4 chord. And we also have a nice color tone up here of the 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 6 of the C minor chord. And then we move back to our 1 chord. And this section is a bit longer than that, but for now we're just going to keep it to there. We're going to look at how the minor 4 goes back to the major 1. So let's play through this now with the right-hand part and give a listen to how this sounds. 1, 2, set, go. Major 1. And we're on the major 4. Now to minor 4. Back to major 1. Nice, right? Okay, so a much different song, much different style. We still see the same idea here, borrowing from the minor mode to create a more dramatic progression from the minor 4 to the major 1. And here, Joe Cocker also added some color to this. We had a major 7 chord on our major 4, C major 7, C triad with a B natural. And then when we moved to the minor 4 chord, he added the color tone of the 6. So we had a C minor triad with an A on top. Pretty cool, right? All right, let's switch gears now and continue to look at a brand new style, again, different from both of these examples. We're going to look at Bruno Mars, When I Was Your Man. This section is a bit longer. This is the chorus. And I want to just look at the end of the chorus, which contains this minor 4 to major 1. So I'm going to highlight those 4 measures. And we're going to take a look. In the left hand first, we start with F over C. By the way, we're in a new key here. We're in the key of C major, which means F major is our 4 chord. The next measure we see an F minor over C, and then we see a C major. Now, we've talked about half-step resolutions. Check this out. Our major 4 chord moving to the minor 4 chord is a half-step resolution. Now that we're here at the minor 4 chord, both of these changing notes move down by a half step. Let's add the melody and see what this sounds like. Now my baby's major 4, minor 4, major 1. Okay, so we've seen now 3 different examples, different styles, different artists, that all use the minor 4 to major 1 progression. And you know what else? I noticed a pattern with all of those examples, that it doesn't just go right to the minor 4 and then to the major 1. In each one of those examples, we started first with the major 4, and then that major 4 changed to the minor 4, and then that minor 4 resolved to major 1. So when we do that, we see an extra set of half-step resolutions. In other words, when we play our major 4 chord, and the last one was in the key of C, the major 3rd of the 4 chord resolves down a half step to the minor 3rd of the minor 4 chord. So there's one half-step resolution. And then, once we're here, we have both of those half-step resolutions to the major 1. It's all about that half-step resolution. All right, so let's take a look at just a couple more song examples, and then I'm going to ask you guys to leave me a comment below and tell me what other songs use this minor 4 to major 1 progression. There's a ton. I've isolated just a few in this video to prove my point, but there's a lot more. So let me know below which ones I missed, and let's have a discussion about it. All right, now let's switch gears and start looking at Bridge Over Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel. First, let's take a look at our key signature. I see here that we're in the key of D major because we have 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp. And that means that our 1 chord is D major and our 4 chord would be G major. I see that a couple times throughout here when I glance at the chord symbols. And I also see 1 G minor. And sure enough, that resolves to a D major. Can you guys see that? In the fourth measure on the notation above, we start with a G over D, then we go to a G minor over D, and then we look down to the next line, measure 5, we go to a D major chord. So again, we see here, Simon and Garfunkel, these guys started with the major 4 and then went to the minor 4 before going to the major 1. 1, 2, set, go. All right, so that's how Simon and Garfunkel does it. I'm going to show you one last example, again from an unrelated artist and style. This one's from Disney's Moana. This is from the song How Far I'll Go, and I'm going to show you the pre-chorus because, yes, it's the minor 4 to major 1, but there's something a little different about this one that I want to examine. And then we'll wrap this video up. And by the way, all of the song examples that I showed you today are represented in our interactive app in our song store. So that means that you can learn the entire song in all different difficulty levels by signing up for an app membership. If you guys don't know about the app yet, you're missing out. And we're doing a free trial right now here on YouTube to allow you guys to learn these full songs for free. We've got 30 days, and you don't have to pay a thing for you to try it out. And if you like it, then you become a member. And if you don't, you can cancel at any time during that 30-day period. So tap that card above to learn more about the free trial, and you can sign up today. But for now, let's go ahead and wrap up this video by looking at Moana, How Far I'll Go, and I'll see you guys there. Hey, I'm back. So here on screen, we're looking at the 4 measures that make up the pre-chorus to this song. And I'm gonna go ahead and play through it one time for you, and then we'll analyze it. 1, 2, set, go. Okay, so first let's take a look at our key signature. Here we're in a new key of 4 sharps. F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and D sharp. That tells us we're in the key of E major. Our 4th chord is F sharp diminished 7. That's a weird one. It's not one that we see very often. And in fact, it's not in the key of E major, right? E major says that the 2 chord is F sharp minor, and that looks like that. However, here we see an F sharp diminished with a 7, and that diminished note there, that flat 5, is a C natural, which is not in the key of E major. So here we see another example of a borrowed chord. And let's talk about the function of this chord. Now, this video is all about the minor 4 to major 1. So the minor 4 chord in the key of E is A minor. A, C, E. Now the chord we're playing, though, is F sharp diminished 7. F sharp, A, C, E. Does that look familiar? Yeah, that's an A minor chord, right? With an F sharp on the bottom. So F sharp diminished 7 is another way to write A minor with an F sharp. And if we invert this, we see A minor with a 6 on top. And in some previous examples, we did see that minor 4 chord with a 6 color tone, didn't we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the 6. So this is kind of another way to write that, another way to spin that. With an F sharp on the bottom, or as the root, here it becomes an F sharp diminished 7. But functionally speaking, we're still playing this A minor triad, and that's going to allow us to resolve downward by half steps to E major. Now, furthermore, take a look at what the right hand is playing on top of this chord. The melody is literally outlining an A minor triad, A, E, and C natural. That just goes to show you that this is made up of that minor 4 magic. Minor 4 to major 1, even though it's disguised as a diminished 7 chord built from the 2. Let's play this one more time, guys. This time, I'm not going to use the notation on screen. I'm just going to play block chords in the left hand so you can really see what I'm talking about. Okay? That's the 6 chord in the left hand. Here's the 5 chord in the left hand. 1 chord in the left hand. Now check this out. Left hand plays F sharp diminished, while the right hand outlines this A minor triad. And in the next measure, we would see this. Okay, back to the 1 chord. So we have A minor with the F sharp in the root, and that resolves down to E major. Once again, minor 4 to major 1. And that about does it, you guys, for today's installment of Popular Music Deconstructed, looking at that minor 4 to major 1. Boy, I wonder how many times I said minor 4 to major 1 in this video. Who can let me know in the comments below? If you count them all and you get it right, there may just be a little prize for you. Don't forget about the free trial we're offering here, so you can try that interactive app which grades you as you play for free for 30 days. And you guys should also check out the other Popular Music Deconstructed videos we have here on the channel, analyzing music's most common chord progressions and rhythms. And if you're liking these, hit me with a thumbs up below. And if you're really loving them, make sure you subscribe. I'm Phil, and I'll see you guys for the next video tutorial.
The features you saw on screen today can be at your fingertips with the Playground Sessions app. Co-created by music legend Quincy Jones, Playground teaches the piano with interactive feedback and gaming features, all while using your favorite songs. All right, guys, I'm Phil. Hit subscribe so I can see you for the next video.